Sources. Visit opgr.org. By Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's for your game day celebration. In store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com. Legends Casino Hotel in Toppenish, within winning distance. Audi Wilsonville, offering unmatched service to help you find the perfect car. Online at AudiWilsonville.com. Laurelhurst Market, more than just your friendly neighborhood steakhouse. Make your reservation today at laurelhurstmarket.com. By Unitas Community Credit Union. Join the team at Unitas Community Credit Union to help you reach your financial goals. And by Langdon Farms Golf Club. There's no better course in the Northwest for year-round golf. Book your tee time at LangdonFarms.com. Now, here are your hosts, Dusty Hara and former Ducks and NFL star Anthony Newman with Ducks Game Day on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
And welcome in to Ducks Game Day Live. Dusty Hare alongside me is Anthony Newman. We are out in front of the Mo. And Anthony, it is November, and the weather could not be more perfect.
I'm shocked. I had this jacket. I think I need to come out of this jacket. It feels good out here.
The sun is shining all week long. We were expecting rain all day on Saturday. And as Don Essig always says, it never rains in Autzen Stadium. It's not raining. Yeah, the rain has been bumping back hour by hour as we get closer and closer to kickoff. Yesterday it was right around pregame. It was going to be a little bit of rain.
Mm-hmm.
Now, then late in the evening it bumped back to, you may miss rain for the start of kickoff. Now, rain isn't expected in Eugene at Autzen Stadium until around 7 or 8 p.m.
Perfect weather for football. I mean, sometimes in November you don't care. It is what it is. But when you get days like this, you take advantage of it. Yeah. Fly around on the field. Have some fun.
And last week at Michigan, you go to Ann Arbor with no clouds. It wasn't cold. It was another beautiful day.
Was it really?
Yeah, the weather has – the football gods have been smiling down on everybody this week. We will dive into this being the first ever meeting between the University of Maryland and the University of Oregon. That's a weird thing.
Yeah.
You know, both these schools have been played football for over 100 years. Never have they seen each other at any time. We will dive into this game, but let's start with the recap. Your thoughts on an impressive and emphatic win at Michigan last weekend?
Well, Oregon is ranked number one for a reason.
Yep. They
have some dudes on their team. They played well on the offensive side of the ball. On the defense, they were flying around, creating havoc, controlled the running game. Special teams, you have to be special, and they're always special. So I always say it's a team victory. When you have a good football team, when you have all three phases playing well in these games. Sometimes the offense has to bail out the defense or vice versa, or your special team guy, you fumble the football or something happens. But on a consistent basis, you look at this Oregon football team, all three phases play great for 4 quarters, and that's why they're tough to beat.
Balance offensively.
Yeah.
You are a defensive player. You are a defensive coordinator. At Westland High School got a bye this week, so we don't even have to talk about that.
No game,
you guys got a game next week.
Yeah.
But a balanced attack in preparing for a team like Oregon that comes at you with the run game and the passing game is so equal so far this season.
That makes it tough. And here's the reason why. And, okay, what do we need to stop? Let's stop their best thing. Let's make them right-handed if they're left-handed. And to me, it's always the running game. You got to control the running game. You got to stop the running game. Jordan James, you got to stop him. You got to know where number 20 is lined up. He's going to be in the backfield. And then when you have a running quarterback, you're going to have to check him.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that, hey, we got a defensive end. We can't crash down, on the run when the quarterback can keep the ball and take off around the edge. So you have to hold back. You have to, make sure our kids are disciplined from a defensive standpoint. But then you have receivers. Well, okay, now they have 3. Well, now maybe just 2. But they have 3 receivers. Well, then you got tight ends. Okay, well, you got to add a tight end. Maybe add 2 tight ends. I keep talking about weapons. Yeah. They have dudes. There are so many guys that you're trying to stop. So Oregon has a great balance. They can run the ball, and they can pass the ball. When they're running the ball, the teams will load the box. Okay, now we'll get them on play action. Safeties come up, linebackers bite. Okay, Dylan pulls the ball out, throws it over the top because, either I don't know who's running deep. One of the receivers are running deep, and that's all the receivers we have that are faster than the DBs that we play against. It's amazing. It really is. And then if there's nothing down the field, okay, Dylan's going to take off. Now, here's another thing. The offensive line.
Yeah.
Doing a great job.
They've played outstanding.
Yes, great job.
Since the halftime of that Boise State game, we have seen a completely different offensive line unit. They have progressively gotten better. And that's the thing about, early in the year, we heard a lot of, why isn't Oregon taking deep shots? Why aren't they throwing the ball down the field? And I think it goes to everything that you just said in that Dylan Gabriel was also completing over 80% of his passes at that time. This team just takes what they give you. And I think that in the Chip Kelly era, the blur offense, it was we will run as many plays as we can. We're going to run the ball effectively, and our passing game is going to be more vertical because it sucks people up and you take that shot deep. Will Stein's offense is completely different in that if the under is there, take the under.
Yeah.
Take the under and absolutely punish a team for giving you the easy yards.
Yes.
When teams have taken that away, we saw it against Ohio State. We saw it last week against Michigan.
Yep.
You can take the top off the defense. This offense has been explosive. We will talk about Jordan James a little bit later. He's on the cusp of a rich tradition of history here at the University of Oregon, as he's just 83 yards away from a 1,000-yard season. We will hit that tight end room and the injuries that you talked about because both at wide receiver and on the offensive line, the injury luck has gone Oregon's way, but it came and bit the Ducks in Ann Arbor. But before we get to all of that, we've got to go behind enemy lines. Jeff Ehrman from Inside Maryland Sports and the Inside Maryland podcast joins us next. Let's get a quick look at the Terps who are coming into Autzen Stadium. But first, we've got Rust with Victorico's traffic and weather.
Nearing 2 hours and 10 minutes from the city center down to Autzen Stadium. Things getting a bit slow before the I-205 interchange through Wilsonville, really getting slowed down from Salem down past exit 244. Report of a smoky at Bonita Road and again at exit 263, but smooth sailing the rest of the way. 52 partly cloudy here in Portland, 56 and partly cloudy in Eugene. Ducks game day forecast calls for cloudy skies with some showers moving in later this evening. A high of 58 for the 4 o'clock kick at Autzen. 57 and cloudy. Looks like that rain may hold off until after the game because, as we all know, it never rains in Autzen Stadium. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks game day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victorico's Mexican Food. Order Victorico's for your game day celebration in-store or online for pickup or delivery at victoricos.com.
This year's ratings of the best TVs just got published. And Samsung, LG, and Sony
Mountain Cold Refreshment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly.
Here's the sweep, the fly sweep, and the double. Oh, the ball's loose. Oregon might have a chance and will get on it back at the 23-yard line.
This is Behind Enemy Lines. A look at Ducks opponents with the insiders who know them best. On the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
Dusty Hair, Anthony Newman, live in front of the Mashofsky Center as we cruise on towards a 4 o'clock kick between the Oregon Ducks and the Maryland Terrapins. Joining us now as we go behind enemy lines, Jeff Ehrman from Inside MD Sports and a host of the Inside Maryland podcast. Jeff, thanks for taking a few minutes for us. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
You know, this game, as we take a look at Maryland coming in, one win in Big Ten play after going 3-0 in out-of-conference play. They hit the bye week late in the season, their final bye. What was the focus for Maryland, Mike Locksley, and his staff heading into that bye week and coming into this game against the top-ranked team in the country?
Yeah, just regrouping in general. You know, last time out they had a really rough day at Minnesota, gave up almost 50 points to an offense that's not great. You know, a good team, but, you know, a bad loss. And then, you know, they've had some rough losses before that too. So at this stage of the season, you know, you need to win 2 more games to get to a bowl. 2 of them are Penn State and Oregon, in which you're an enormous underdog. And so you're really going to have to, you know, beat the odds down the stretch here. So that was a rest for the final sprint.
Mike Locksley and his teams, though, they've showed up and played really tough against the upper echelon of the Big Ten. What has gone into kind of that underdog mentality and playing well against the Ohio States and Penn States historically under Locksley?
Yeah, I think when the program was down pretty low, they were blown out so often by all of those teams. Still some of them that, you know, Penn State tends to be a blowout. You know, they have their number. But otherwise, they nearly beat Ohio State a couple times. They came very close with Michigan last year. Michigan goes on to win the national championship. So, you know, those don't count for anything. There's no moral victories. And, you know, you can't cash in a near miss, but they have, you know, they've improved their talent. They've rebuilt the program, and so now they're able to compete in some of those games. But the thing the fans are waiting for is for them to pull off one of those wins, those big marquee upsets.
Jeff, your passing attack is outstanding, and what makes them so dangerous? I know they got a good quarterback and the receivers, but you got an offensive line, you got the running game, maybe to help out, maybe that offsets it. Or it's just that the quarterback and the receivers has got a great connection?
Offensive line has kind of struggled this year, to be honest. You know, they're breaking in 5 new starters on the offensive line, which I don't know has ever happened in Mike Locksley's career. So that's been an issue. And because of that, they really haven't been able to run the ball that well. And on the other side, you know, other teams have been able to air it out pretty well. So because of that, you know, I think they've thrown a little more than they expected to. They'd like to be able to run more, but it just hasn't happened for them. So, you know, Billy Edwards having a great year. He's got 2 really tough weapons, likely NFL draft picks, Ty Felton and Caden Prather. They got some playmakers at running back and tight end. So they have some skill there on the offensive side. And Billy Edwards has put up, you know, I think statistically he's been one of the better quarterbacks in the Big Ten.
Yeah, let's talk about Ty Felton a little bit. 93 yards from 1,000 on the season. He averages 9 catches per game when everybody in the stadium knows that he's going to be getting the ball. He seems to have that knack for being able to get open still. What is it about his game for the Oregon fans that are unfamiliar and maybe getting their eyes on him for the first time that makes him special on the outside?
Well, he's really fast, first of all. He's, I think, the second fastest player on the team. In the past, he had some issues with drops. This year, he hasn't really had that issue. He's been very reliable. And they look to get him out in space quickly, you know, quick hitters, 5-yard screens, little short stuff in the middle of the field. They do throw some deep stuff to him, too. But, you know, a lot of their offense is predicated on just snapping it and whipping it out to him and letting him, you know, get yards after the catch in space, and he's been amazing, having one of the best years by a Maryland receiver ever.
Jeff Ehrman is our guest, Inside Maryland Sports, part of the 24/7 Sports Network and the host of the Inside Maryland podcast. As we know the familiarity of Coach Loxley. He comes from that Nick Saban rehabilitation coaches retreat that they used to have down there at Alabama. Tosh Lapoy, Dan Lanning, others on this Oregon staff. How much has familiarity been a talking point of knowing a little bit about this coaching staff here in Eugene with so much unfamiliarity because Oregon and Maryland have never played each other in football?
Yeah, he's mentioned it in passing. It hasn't been a big conversation, I think mostly because they're just facing such a monumental task right now that's, even making this game close would be a pretty good accomplishment. So he's mentioned it, but it hasn't been a major thing. But the Saban influence is generally very strong. He's modeled a lot of what he does after Nick Saban.
Defensively, who can make an impact for this Maryland team that we can look at and say may make things tough for Dylan Gabriel behind center or Jordan James in that rushing game?
Well, I'd say their most dynamic defensive player is probably Glenn Miller. Cornerback has, I believe, 4, maybe 5 interceptions this season. Just a ball hawk kind of guy. And then up front, they're really deep at linebacker. They got some athletic guys there: Caleb Wheaton, Kellen Wyatt. And up front, Jordan Phillips in the middle of the line is a Tennessee transfer, massive kid, really solid, stopping the run. But, the biggest catch there is that the pass rush just hasn't been very good.
Yeah. How is that, as we are now new to the Big Ten here with the University of Oregon and all the West Coast schools, as Maryland has now been in it for several years now, what has that transition been like as far as, the acclimation period for finding rivals and finding your own footing in a conference that is so steeped in tradition?
Yeah, it's kind of like when you move to a new town in the middle of nowhere, it's hard to meet friends, right? And that's been the same thing with the rivalry issue. There's just no natural rivalry that, if they could beat Penn State a little more often, then you could maybe look at that one as one, since they're, obviously a lot closer than they are to most of these other schools. But, I think overall the fans have been okay with it. Most of them have let go of the angst about leaving the ACC. Some of the older ones who watched the ACC for decades, they'll still bring it up occasionally, but when you look at it realistically, that was a financial lifeline, especially when you look at how many programs right now don't know what the future has for them, and they've locked themselves into one of the most lucrative places you can possibly be in the Big Ten.
Who knows? Maybe this becomes the rivalry, right? Kevin Plank and Under Armour, Phil Knight and Nike. Yeah. Maybe it becomes the apparel brand, and we just start a cross-country rivalry with Maryland, and maybe it starts.
I think Maryland's going to need quite a bit more NIL to make that happen, but I'd like to see it. It would be fun.
Jeff, thank you for our time, or for your time, and joining our pregame show. Thank you, Jeff Ehrman, Inside Maryland Sports, part of the 24/7 Sports Network and the Inside Maryland podcast. Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks for having me.
There it is. That is Behind Enemy Lines. Look, this is a Maryland team that, let's make no bones about it, right? They are one win in conference play. That win, I guess, everybody on the West Coast goes, well, at least they beat USC.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that goes to a lot of teams have been beating USC lately. And that shows you, though, with athlete for athlete, though. He talked about Ty Felton on the outside. If you allow Billy Edwards to sit back and spin it and allow that offensive line to get protection, they can muddy something up against you.
When you look on paper, everything looks towards the Ducks is, okay, they can't lose this football game, but you still have to play the game. And guys got to come out and play. And I know Dan Lanning says it, and I say it all the time. He's telling his kids, it's not about Maryland. It's about us. Mm-hmm. We're playing against us. We have to make sure that we don't beat ourselves and give them hope, give them some light that they can feel that, we can play with these guys. And now they're amped up and ready to rock and roll. So you don't want that to happen. But what concerns me is Jeff's talk about the offensive line.
Yeah.
You don't want to have a bad offensive line against this Oregon defense, against the defensive line up front.
No, sir.
No. That's going to be a good matchup to watch.
All right. Let's get to our Zoom Care injury report, but first we got traffic and weather.
Got now 2 hours and 10 minutes from the city center to Autzen. Looks like an accident at Bonita Road. Some slowing before the I-205 interchange and into Wilsonville. Really getting bogged down from Salem down to exit 244. There's another accident on the south side of Salem and more slowing after you pass Albany. Smooth sailing, though, the rest of the way. 53, mostly cloudy here in Portland. 56 and partly cloudy in Eugene. Ducks game day forecast calls for cloudy skies with some showers moving in later this evening. High of 58 for the 4 o'clock kick at Autzen. 57 and cloudy. Looks like the rain may hold off until after the game. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks game day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's for your game day celebration in store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com.
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day.
We should have our guys available. Right now, we're still waiting to see. We have some guys that still have to get healthy.
This is the Zoom Care Injury Report. A look at the injuries that could impact today's game and the key matchups in college football. Brought to you by Zoom Care. With more than 20 neighborhood clinics in Oregon and Southwest Washington, Zoom Care offers convenient access to same-day urgent and emergency care, plus an expanded primary care team, currently accepting new patients. Schedule or learn more at zoomcare.com.
All right, let's get to this injury report. We usually don't have much to talk about right here.
No.
We've got a lot to talk about with the Zoom Care injury report because 2 big injuries as a result of the win in Michigan. Tez Johnson goes down with a shoulder injury. Dan Lanning saying it will be some time he will miss with that shoulder injury. We're not quite sure what it is.
Yep.
That's a huge impact for this team and for this offense because he really is a weapon that you have to account for.
Well, he's the team's leading receiver. I mean, he's a weapon down the field, across the middle, on hitches and bubble routes, on everything. Not the biggest guy out there, but you can't catch him. And he runs great routes. Usually when you talk about a guy that's very, very fast on the football field, track speed fast, he can't run routes very well as a receiver. He doesn't control his body. No. Yeah. Tez is so fast, and he runs his routes like, some of those great receivers that are slow, and that's how they get away with getting open is they run great routes.
Yeah.
Tez does the same thing. But there's a lot of dudes on this team. There's a lot of receivers. There's some young receivers that are stepping up just as slow from Lake Oswego. Go LO. This kid he looks, and I knew he was fast because I coached against him. So I knew he could run, but on the field watching him, in a college game, he has speed. Maybe not, Tez Johnson's speed, but he has speed to take the top off the defense. And then you're talking about Evan Stewart. Yeah. He's the guy that needs to step up. He's the guy that has to be the go-to guy because he can do it all also like Tez Johnson. And then not a receiver, but a tight end. I like Sadiq. I like Sadiq.
Yeah, Kenyon Sadiq.
Yep. He is. Is he a receiver or is he a tight end?
Or is he a running back?
Or is he a running back? What? Come on.
Yeah.
I think he's the one he's going to be the most dangerous guy on the field.
The interesting part for me is to see, and we can talk about this a little bit later, the gravity that Tez Johnson has as a wide receiver, because it's not just where they line him up, it's where they motion him to, and how many guys have to account for number 15, and how do you adjust your offense accordingly when you've got to have people moving around, and where does that motion come from? We saw Justice Lowe kind of be inserted into the running game, and they motioned him into the B gap, and he rooted out a linebacker. But Trayshawn Holden had a big game in the absence, and this is why I say that this receiver room that you're talking about, they could weather this storm without Tez, because he went out the opening series and that offense continued to operate at a really high level.
That's right.
Then when you think about the fact that Gary Bryant Jr. may be coming back, he's getting closer and closer to a return. I know that during the open parts of practice where the media was able to see, he was returning punts this week. So there are guys that could be coming back. The one that I had major concern with until that final drive of the game was Marcus Harper. He got rolled up on. We're not quite sure. Dan Lanning with a positive update on that. It wasn't too bad for Marcus Harper either, but when they moved him from left guard to right guard, they inserted Nashad Strother at that left guard position and moved Poncho to center. This offensive line has operated at an insane level.
Yeah.
When Kavika Rogers comes in, he has to be lined up against Mason Graham, probably a top 10 pick in next spring's NFL draft.
Yep.
And he got tea kettled on the first one. Coming in cold, that's a mean thing to do to somebody, is put him in ice cold against one of the best defensive linemen in the country. But after that, he was the right guard when they went 90 yards at the end of that game.
Yeah.
And they went 90 yards, and they punched it in for a touchdown at the end of that game. He was in there. That settles a little bit of that concern as well. Dave Iuli also coming back from injury and looking like he may be close to available this week as well.
Well, when you're surrounded by a great supporting cast, it's a lot easier for you. You know, if you're on a bad team and now the star gets hurt and you're the backup, you come in, no, there's nothing there. But when you're on a team that the guy gets hurt and you're going in, you're standing next to guys that are all Americans next to you, it's much easier, and so you just got to do your part. You're 111, and be responsible, communicate, understand your responsibility. But other than that, it's the next guy that's, hey, step up. Who's stepping up? Who can make those plays? Who wants to be on the field, okay, with the number one team in the country and perform for the number one team in the country? And there's a lot of kids that want to. So, we'll find out. We'll find out today. I think there's going to be a lot of kids playing today. I really do. And so I think we're going to see a lot of kids stepping up going, hey, let me show what I can do to these coaches that I belong up here.
Injury Report brought to you by ZoomCare. With more than 20 neighborhood clinics in Oregon and Southwest Washington, ZoomCare offers convenient access to same-day urgent care and emergency care, plus an expanded primary care team currently accepting new patients. Schedule to learn more at ZoomCare.com. Let's go to the locks, baby. We're going to go to the locks of the week. Next on Ducks Game Day Live. That was the voice of the Ducks, Jerry Allen.
The man. That's the mayor.
There he is right there. He is the mayor. This is Ducks Game Day on 1080 The Fan.
Looking for a better primary
In college football,
If I were a more serious college football gambler, I would have locked this in earlier.
the Legends Casino Hotel Lock of the Week. Brought to you by Legends Casino Hotel in Toppenish. Legends Casino Hotel, within winning distance.
All right, let's go to the lock of the week, Anthony. This is a weekend where you got some eliminator games. We're going to talk about that when we go around the scoreboard and we take a look at the scoreboard update. But there's some big games ahead of us. This is one of the great parts about having this great kick time of 4 o'clock. Not everything's started yet. I'm going to go with one of my locks of the week. Team has to go across the country. You got a team licking their wounds from a close loss in a pivotal game. I think we get a bounce-back performance by number 6 Penn State.
Yeah,
13.5-point favorites against the Huskies in Washington.
Yes.
Washington has been, I think that war of attrition is finally starting to creep up on the Huskies.
That's an easy lock.
You like that?
Oh, yeah, it's not even close.
Glad we're on the same page here.
No, I'm serious. I mean, I don't – the Huskies, they don't impress me at all. And Penn State's a good football team.
Yep.
They struggled a little bit against Ohio State, but they're a good football team.
I'll also tell you, I got you want a bonus one? You want a bonus one?
Yeah.
I got a bonus one.
Yeah.
Indiana, 14.5-point favorites hosting Michigan. Michigan got dinged up front against Oregon too, and they had more than a few guys go down with injuries in that game. Indiana is game right now.
Have you ever said in your life, Indiana will beat Michigan?
Not in football.
I mean football.
Not in football.
I'm talking about football.
Not in football. And rarely in basketball lately, but not in football.
This is a rarity. I'm just confused.
Yeah. That team is crushing
everybody.
And because of what the committee said, this is also the Kurt Signetti They Suck tour.
Yeah, yeah.
He got introduced on December 1st of last year at an Indiana basketball game in Assembly Hall. And when he walked out on the floor, he said, Purdue sucks, and so do Michigan and Ohio State. The final 3 games for Indiana, Michigan this week, then they have a bye, then they get Ohio State, and then Purdue. This is the Kurt Signetti They Suck tour. It starts today, and he wrote some checks with his mouth. He's got to start cashing them, so that's why I'm going with Indiana too.
I like it.
I like it less than Penn State, though, in getting the rebound.
The bounce back with Penn State, no question.
No doubt about it. All right, those are – we got a twofer. We got a twofer. Locks of the Week. Lock of the Week is brought to you by Legends Casino and Hotel in Toppenish. Legends Casino Hotel, within winning distance. Online at legendscasino.com. All right, let's get to our keys to the game. But first, we got Rust, and he's got Victorico's Mexican food, traffic, and weather.
Approaching 2 hours and 15 minutes now from the city center down to Eugene. Slowing from before the I-205 interchange through Wilsonville, and a bunch more slowing from Salem down past exit 244. More slowing around Albany, but smooth sailing the rest of the way, and no Smokies to report at this time. 53 mostly cloudy here in Portland, 56 and partly cloudy in Eugene. Ducks game day forecast calls for cloudy skies with some showers moving in later this evening. A high of 58 for the 4 o'clock kick at Autzen. 57 and cloudy. Looks like the rain may hold off until after the game. I'm Jeff Rest with Ducks game day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victorico's Mexican Food. Order Victorico's for your game day celebration in store or online for pickup or delivery at victoricos.com.
Don't let the game play you. Sports betting is popular among Oregonians.
or we have extreme detail in how we play.
It's time for the Audi Wilsonville Keys of the Game. A look at the players and units that have to have a big day for the Ducks. Brought to you on The Fan by Audi Wilsonville, offering unmatched service to help you find the perfect car. Online at AudiWilsonville.com.
All right, time for our Keys of the Game as we are out in front of the Mashofsky Center in the shadow of Autzen Stadium. The Maryland Terrapins coming in, the first ever meeting between the Ducks and the Terps. 4 o'clock kick right here on The Fan.
Hey, it's getting cold.
A little wind picked up.
I complain. I'm sorry, I complain.
It's
but
okay.
It's getting cold.
It's all right. We're not going to use the S word.
I don't play anymore. It's getting cold.
We're not going to call it. We're not going to call ourselves soft because I'm with you there.
I don't have to act tough and hard like I'm getting cold.
No. All right, players, units. Who has to have a big day for Oregon? When you have a team that's 1-4 in conference play, 4-4 on the season, where do you look, Anthony, to, all right, where do we want to see the biggest improvement? I think that would be the key to the game for Oregon.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm going to look at it from a coaching standpoint is what's the strength of Maryland? Passing the ball. Throwing the ball down the field. And then what's their weakness? The offensive line. So for Oregon's defensive line, that's the key to the game.
Yeah.
They have to create havoc for the offensive line of Maryland. It's stopping the run and getting to the quarterback. And if you want to send a few linebackers, you can, because Oregon's secondary is so good. Now they're going to have their hands full with 2 receivers, but we only have 2 receivers. Usually that puts you in a bind because you can't throw the ball to the back. You don't want to throw the ball to the tight end. You're just looking for those 2 receivers. Now you can get man-on-man coverage with those 2 guys. So I'm looking at the D-line for Oregon as the key to the game of creating havoc for the quarterback.
You know, what about interceptions for this team? Doesn't it kind of seem like we haven't seen this defense really create as many turnovers as we've come accustomed? They've been unbelievable this year.
Yes.
But it is creating the turnovers is something that we've seen in big moments.
I know. Yes.
But we haven't seen as like kind of the marker of this team.
Well, Oregon secondary, not even the secondary. I think the back 7. You're talking about linebackers and DBs. They're one of the best in the country in pass breakups. They're always knocking the ball down. Yeah. I get that. I used to have a coach tell us, okay, don't make tackles. Okay, I don't care about tackles. Knocking the ball down, I don't care about knocking the ball down. Go get picks. Turn the ball over. Get the ball back to our offense. So that's what I think that's the next level Oregon secondary and the linebackers have to do is, okay, yeah, we're knocking the ball down, but let's go intercept the ball.
Yeah.
Take a chance and go get the ball. Pick 6, score for the offense. That's what you need to do.
How about that? Our 2 keys work hand in hand, though. You get pressure, quarterback gets a little antsy, right. He throws the ball in a place he doesn't want to.
Correct.
That's where interceptions happen.
Yes, it is.
Or happen and make us happy.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Those are our keys to the game. Audi Wilsonville offers unmatched service to help you find the perfect car. Online at AudiWilsonville.com. Let's take a look at the Big Ten slate today. But first, here's Rust with Victor Rico's Mexican food, traffic, and weather.
We're right about 2 hours and 15 minutes from the city center down to Autzen, slowing from before the I-205 interchange through Wilsonville, and a bunch more from Salem down past exit 244. More slowing around Albany. Smooth sailing, though, the rest of the way. 53 and cloudy here in Portland, 56 partly cloudy in Eugene. Ducks game day forecast calls for cloudy skies with some showers moving in later this evening, a high of 58 for the 4 o'clock kick at Autzen. 57 and cloudy. Looks like the rain may hold off until after the game. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks game day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's for your game day celebration in store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com.
It's time to take a look at this big, beautiful coast-to-coast conference.
4 Big Ten teams, they will benefit. I can't wait for it.
This is the Big Ten Preview. A look at the conference schedule on the Odyssey app. And your home for Oregon Ducks football. 1080 The Fan.
Anthony Newman, where we got to start our Big Ten Preview, is the game ongoing right now. The only game in action around the Big Ten right now is Minnesota is losing to Rutgers. 26-19.
Oh.
In the fourth quarter with 1 minute to go. I dare you to try and explain Minnesota football to me.
I can't.
They're
so up and down. I can't.
They are on a 4-game winning streak. They've beaten USC, UCLA, Maryland, and Illinois in the last 4 weeks in a row, which all of those teams have been a roller coaster. And then they go to Rutgers, and they find themselves on right now it's looking like the losing end.
Yeah, they're going to lose this game.
Of an effort to the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers, who are just 1-4 in conference play.
I can't explain that.
All right. Neither can I. That's the only.
No, seriously, I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
And that's one of the things that we're getting used to in this conference is that one thing about the Pac-12, there was a lot of comfort in you knew who was good and you knew who was bad. Right?
Well, yeah, you did. No, for sure. But, now you go back and look at the schedule, and, they were good when they beat USC. Mm-hmm. They beat UCLA. They beat Maryland. They beat Illinois. Are they any good?
I know.
Okay. I mean, ask yourself.
Yeah.
So is Minnesota really any good? But Rutgers, I don't know.
Well, last night we saw I'm happy for Deshaun Foster and the UCLA Bruins.
Me too.
They beat Iowa 20-17 last night.
Good win.
It was a good win. I was sitting there watching going, oh, no, don't do this. They turned the ball over twice in the end zone during that game. It should have been a runaway rout of Iowa by UCLA. It was closer than probably the game should have been, but they get their second win in a row. They're now 3-4 in Big Ten play.
Well, Iowa, they run the ball, so they score.
I can't figure out their offense either. They score 41 week and 17 the next.
Yeah. UCLA, they can fight. They're feisty, and they believe in their coach. They love their coach. Mm-hmm. They love their coaching staff. I think it's going to take them a little while to get going, but when they do, they're going to be dangerous.
Yeah. One game already in the books here in the Big Ten as number 2 Ohio State. They took Purdue to the woodshed 45-0. Will Howard, 21 of 26, 260 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jeremiah Smith breaks the freshman record at Ohio State with his 9th touchdown catch of the season over the Boilermakers. Ohio State rolling right along, and Purdue is not. They are quite the opposite of that. Just getting underway on CBS. You have Michigan on the road at number 8 Indiana. Indiana 14.5-point favorites. And then coming up later tonight at 5 o'clock on Peacock, the Huskies, they head to number 6 Penn State with the Nittany Lions 13.5-point favorites at Beaver Stadium. That one is going to be the whiteout game for Penn State.
That'll be fun.
That will be a fun one. And then, of course, the number 1 Oregon Ducks hosting the Maryland Terrapins. Currently 23-point favorites are the Ducks over Maryland, which is in a tough spot right now, in a real tough spot.
Yeah.
All right, let's head to the coach's corner as we have the Big Ten preview in the rear view mirror. Dan Lanning, he met up with Isaac and Suk this past week, as he does every Thursday on The Fan. That coming up next on Ducks Game Day Live in front of Autzen Stadium, in front of the Mashofsky Center, getting ready for a 4 o'clock kick right here on The Fan.
I'm Leif, owner of Leif's Auto Collision Centers.
where you end up taking an L. It don't happens all the time. You guys had 2 very close games early against teams that you were big favorites against, but you found a way. Like you ground out those games and you found a way. Looking back on that, did that, I don't know, was it a blessing? Was it a wake-up call? Did it set a foundation? Because it feels like every week after that, you guys just keep getting better and better and better, that you got your struggles out early.
Yeah, I don't know that I would say that it was good, it was bad. I would just say that it was learning moments for us. And the biggest piece, I think, always for us is, can we get better week in and week out? And I think we've been a team that's done that.
Well, I think that Oregon fans and us here, we've gotten really spoiled with your quarterback play. I mean, with Bo Nix and now Dylan. Can you compare them? Like, how are they different and how are they similar?
Well, they're both, I think I've said several times that both of them are uniquely themselves, and I think that's one of the biggest keys to anybody is you got to be who you are, and they both are that. They're both great competitors. Like, they both want to go out there and have a lot of success. So I think what's really impressed me with Dylan is his poise in moments. You never walk out in the field and feel like any moment's too big or too small. I mean, his approach is really, really impressive there.
Dan Lanning's appearances each Thursday at 4, brought to you by Unitas Community Credit Union. Like a coach's playbook, Unitas has a winning strategy for your finances. You, us, Unitas.
Approaching 2 hours and 15 minutes from the city center down to Autzen Stadium, slowing from before the I-205 interchange and through Wilsonville. A bunch more from Salem down way past exit 244. More slowing after passing Albany. But other than that, smooth sailing the rest of the way. 53 and cloudy here in Portland, 57 partly cloudy in Eugene. Ducks game day forecast calls for cloudy skies with some showers moving in later this evening in Portland. A high of 58 for the 4 o'clock kick at Autzen. 57 and cloudy. Looks like the rain may hold off until after the game because it never rains in Autzen Stadium. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks game day traffic and weather every 10 minutes. Brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's for your game day celebration in store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com.
Duck fans, game day is here, and you
Next Ducks will be
Oregon has really, really put their hooks in the Northwest. Suddenly, this class looks like it could be very, very special.
It's time for Recruiting with Andrew Nemec, the Ducks Game Day edition on 1080 The Fan.
All right, let's talk some recruiting with Andrew Nemec. Nemec, how you doing, my man?
I'm good. I watched the Miami game from the opening kick, and that was a really enjoyable football game, and I like the end result, of course, but, man, to watch that thing from beginning to end was fun as opposed to just the last 3-4 minutes. Good game.
The Miami Hurricanes, if you're just tuning in, have fallen to the Georgia Tech Ramblin' Wreck. The Yellow Jackets hold off Mario Cristobal and company 28-23.
We had it all, too, because Mario, out of a 2-minute timeout on 4th and 3, called a timeout when they needed timeouts. Then they ran out of timeouts to lose the game. So scrambling after a 2-minute break to call a timeout and then running out of time is just classic Mario.
Oh boy, that's a brutal way to go. Does that affect recruiting at all? Like a game, a mishap in the season like this when you're undefeated, ranked 4th in the country?
I think it hurts you compared to recruiting against the likes of an Oregon and Ohio State, Miami, or Alabama, Georgia. But Mario, and rightly so, has been pounding the table that Miami is clearly right now the healthiest program in the state of Florida. And in that regard, one loss, if you think that's an issue, take a look at Florida State's record. It hurts them, again, competing for national recruits a little bit, but not compared to Florida and Florida State. And right now, they're really trying to circle the wagons and dominate the state of Florida, and they're still leaps and bounds ahead of where Florida and Florida State are right now.
A big weekend recruiting for the Oregon Ducks. It may not be the matchup of Ohio State or, a top 25 matchup, but for the recruiting of the Oregon Ducks this weekend, a lot of big talent in Eugene.
It's an incredible weekend, and it's almost difficult to put it all into just a quick roundup. Jared Curtis is the number 1 quarterback in the class of 2026. He just decommitted from Georgia. He's the number 3 player in the nation, does have a chance to end up as the number 1 recruit overall in the country in 2026. He'll be in town. Richard Wesley is the number 1 edge rusher in 2027. He's the number 2 recruit in the nation, another player that has a chance to be the number 1 recruit in the end in 2027. There's arguments already being made that he's the best California high school player to come out since Kayvon Thibodeau. He's better than where Kayvon Thibodeau was at this point in his career. He'll be in town. Albert Hill is the number 1 corner in the nation. He'll be in town. Devon Benjamin is the number 3 corner in the nation. He'll be in town. And Anthony Jones Jr., the number 1 or number 2 edge rusher in the country in the class of 2026, will be in town, along with All-American Bowl Central Catholic left tackle Zach Staskowski, who is committed to Washington. But I had a chance to text with him this morning, like, hey, man, how you feeling today? He's like, good, in the car. Where are you headed? He goes, Eugene. I was like, oh, can I write that? Yeah, go ahead. So Zach Staskowski will also be in town. Oregon looking to flip him, and his stock has just skyrocketed. He went from a 3-star prospect on 24/7 to just in the past few weeks adding offers from Georgia, Michigan, and Oregon, and getting invited to the All-American Bowl. There aren't many kids nationally who have looked as good as he's looked in the last 6 months.
One guy who won't be here, Lincoln Cure, the big-time tight end that the Ducks lost out to earlier in the year. He said weather was going to be an issue for him getting out from Missouri out to the Northwest. Where are they at on Flip Watch with Lincoln Cure?
Definitely something to watch. I had a chance to talk with him earlier in the week. He said, what's not to love about Oregon? And he described it to me as kind of, we'll see depending on this visit. Oregon's got to feel good about that. It's one thing to check things out. It's another to say it's going to kind of come down to a visit. As we all know, Oregon's hit rate on visits right now really, really high with what Dan Lanning and his staff have cooking. So he reschedules that, gets on campus, and I think Oregon's got a good shot. In general, they need a tight end. They're also trying to flip Andrew Olish, the number 3 tight end in the nation who's committed to Michigan. He will visit a little later this month. And I talked to Vander Fluke this week. He's committed to Washington. He's a top 20 tight end, but has some huge offers. I believe Alabama has offered him since his commitment to Washington. When I talked to him this week, he said he's torn between Oregon and Washington, and he feels he has a decision to make. Now, if you're an Oregon fan, I think it might come down to no Lincoln Cure, no Andrew Olish, your consolation prize in air quotes because he's very good is Vander Flug, who again is a top 20 kid but has seen his stock rise similar to Zach Staskowski in the past few weeks. So another player to watch, and again, he's torn between Oregon and his current commitment to Washington.
I saw you had a article up about DeCorian Moore, the 5-star receiver, number 1 receiver in the country out of Duncanville. He's taking a visit to LSU. Should Duck fans be worried about that?
I don't think so. He's really close with Caden Durham. He's a former teammate of his. I think he's going to watch a good football game. He's been all in with Oregon this entire time, and there really hasn't been much of a push from LSU, at least nothing that's really been concrete that's made any type of movement. He's been all in on the Ducks the entire time. You never want to see a kid on another program's campus, especially one that recruited him really hard early in the process, but I just do not get the sense from anyone at Duncanville that that's a real serious push at this point. Now, maybe this is the beginning of something and they get him again or 2 more times, and then I'd worry. But as of right now, I think he's going to watch a good football game.
All right, Nemec, thank you for the time, man. We'll talk to you next week.
Of course, thank you.
There he is, Andrew Nemec. You can hear the Recruiting Show with Andrew Nemec weekly right here on 1080 The Fan. And if you need any of your recruiting news, he is the man to go to, as he is the director of recruiting for High School on SI, Sports Illustrated's high school recruiting director. So special thanks to Andrew Nemec. Let's get back into this game. The Oregon Ducks, Maryland Terrapins. We are 3 hours from kick. We'll get to that after Rust with Victorico's traffic and weather.
We're right at 2 hours and 15 minutes from the city center down to Autzen, slowing from before the I-205 interchange through Wilsonville. Got a bunch more slowing from Salem down past exit 244 and a bit more as you pass by Albany. But other than that, looks like pretty smooth sailing the rest of the way. 53 and cloudy here in Portland, 57 partly cloudy in Eugene. Ducks game day forecast calls for cloudy skies with some showers moving in later this evening. A high of 58 for the 4 o'clock kick at Autzen. 57 and cloudy. Looks like the rain may hold off until after the game. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks game day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victorico's Mexican Food. Order Victorico's for your game day celebration in store or online for pickup or delivery at victoricos.com.
Your home for Oregon Ducks football is KFXX KWJJ HD2 Portland.
Go to the house!
1080 The Fan, an Odyssey sports station. Ducks game day continues.
Trips to the right for Gabriel. Turn and hand it off. Trying to find something up the middle, up in the air. Whittington comes outside. Straight arm. 5-4. Touchdown. No, Whittington. The straight arm. The JJ straight arm got him the touchdown.
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day, an insider's preview of today's game between the Oregon Ducks and the Maryland Terrapins. Oregon Ducks football on 1080 The Fan is brought to you by Coors Light, Pacific Office Automation, Mods PDX, Victorico's Mexican Food, Legends Casino Hotel in Toppenish, by Zoom Care, Bellagio's Pizza, Multnomah County Behavioral Health Division, Audi Wilsonville, Laurelhurst Market, by United Community Credit Union, and by Langdon Farms Golf Club. Now, here are your hosts, Dusty Hara and former Ducks and NFL star Anthony Newman, with Ducks Game Day on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
Hour number 2 of Ducks Game Day live. We begin the second hour of Ducks Game Day on the Fan, presented by Coors Light, Mountain Cold Refreshment. Choose to chill. Celebrate responsibly. All right, Anthony, let's get into this game. Oregon, Maryland, lopsided affair if you look at the betting lines as it pertains to the people down in Vegas and the desert build big casinos. But this game is the first meeting that we've ever seen between the two.
Yep.
And it comes with Oregon entering the fourth quarter of the season, right?
Yep.
You split every season into quarters.
Correct.
And here we go, entering the final 3 games, the fourth quarter of the regular season. What do you think it is the Ducks need to kind of build off of that we've seen them improve at every turn?
Well, I think the first thing you need to talk about is the team healthy at this stage. If you have a healthy team going into the end of the season and going into bowl games, playoffs, whatever's happening, then you have a chance. When you have your best players hurt and they're standing on the sideline, then that's a problem. So Oregon is they're healthy. They're healthy. Again, they got a lot of backups who can play, who can play at the same level that the starters play at. But when you look at this football team right now, you always need to improve. You always need to get better. The battle with Oregon is dealing with themselves, making the mistakes. We haven't seen, on the defensive side of the ball, we haven't seen a lot of broken plays, and that's been outstanding. It's really unreal because you're just giving somebody some points.
Staying on schedule.
Exactly right. Yeah. And so now you're seeing that. You're saying, okay, good. You look at the offensive side of the ball, turnovers. Dylan Gabriel's done a better job trying to protect the football. He's a gunslinger, so he wants to throw the football. He wants to throw it in tight windows, and maybe he's learning from, hey, I can't throw the ball all the time like I want to because I'm giving the ball away. At the same time, the offensive line, we talked about them at the beginning of the season. They weren't gelling. Now they're gelling. So they're improving. Each game, if the team is getting better, and that's what you want, then, towards the end of the season, the last quarter, you're like, hey, we're at that point.
Mm-hmm. Now it's maintained.
Exactly right. And be consistent at how we play.
You worried about the third quarter struggles that everybody's kind of been talking about? Offensively, their production in the third quarter has not been great. I think it's, only 29 points?
Not really, because no one's perfect. You're going to have some negativity. You're going to have something that you need to build on. You need to correct. You need to talk about, okay, we need to improve this. You can't play a perfect game. It's impossible. But, yes, there are some things that you have to improve on. And in the third quarter, no doubt about it. Hey, let's get better in the third quarter. Let's score some points in the third quarter. But they're scoring so many points in the first and second quarter, and then they get consistent in the fourth quarter and score points. You take that with a grain of salt. We could do better.
I think one guy who's really stood out, and it's been really fun to watch his growth and development, and maybe it's a weird thing to say, but maybe the injury to Jordan Birch unlocked something in Mateo Uyunglele.
I know. Well, he was always a dude, no doubt about it, but I think he's grown up real fast. Remember, he's a true sophomore, and he's not done growing. He's going to get faster.
He's going to be forced to come back for another year.
Exactly. Exactly. So
because the NFL, you have to go 3 years out of high school.
Yeah. So he's a dude. They have to. When you're the offense, you got to know where number 10's lined up because they got him all over the place. They got him to the right side, to the left side. And he's so quick off the ball. Yet not only is he a great pass rusher, he's a run stopper. So with pass rushers, you want to run at a pass rusher. Let's run at him because he's not a big guy. He's not going to run stop us. He's not going to, hold the point of attack. Well, he does a good job of doing that. Yeah. So now he's a two-way player. He can play on third down, get to the quarterback, and he can play on first and second and stop the run.
One of the most surprising things that I saw out of him was that it was a trick play. Michigan was trying to get some coverage on Alex Orji, though, on that very last drive for Michigan offensively.
Yeah.
To be a guy who pins your ears back, 90% of the time, but then to have the awareness, to have the play recognition, and you heard it on the Ducks versus them. They said, Orji at quarterback on this one. It's going to be a trick play. It's going to be a trick play.
Yeah.
And it resonated with him. He felt it. And he makes a play at the end in coverage.
Yeah, well, let's go back to him. But back in high school, at St. John Bosco in California, he's playing against top teams all the time. So that competition, that being in that environment, understanding all those type of things, and now he's in college, he's doing the same thing. It's not new to him, and that's why he's excelled as a sophomore. It's the same old. Going against good football players, going against good teams, and finding ways to win, to get that, find those indicators. This is what they're going to do. I see. Okay, they're lined up like this. They're going to do this. He's that smart player again as a sophomore. He's going to be dangerous next year.
A lot of football ahead of him as well. All right, so we're going to dive into this game a little bit more as we roll on here in hour number 2. We got to take a look at the scoreboard, though, because we've already got a big upset in the world of college football. This is Ducks Game Day Live. Anthony Newman, Dusty Hara out in front of the Mashowski Center. They've allowed the fans in through the gates as we are trucking towards kickoff between the Ducks and the Terrapins right here on The Fan.
November is a great time
and cold refreshment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly.
Now going to go deep. Boy's got him down there. Catch made. Keep your balance. Touchdown, Oregon.
It's time for the Ducks Game Day Scoreboard with previews and scores from around the country on your home for Oregon Ducks football, the Odyssey app, and 1080 The Fan.
All right, take a look at the college football scoreboard from around the nation right now. The upset that everybody's talking about, we talked about it briefly with Andrew Nemec of the Recruiting Show with Andrew Nemec, who came on and gave us a recruiting preview for this weekend. The number 4 Miami Hurricanes fall in Atlanta to Georgia Tech 28-23.
Wow.
And Georgia Tech had been missing their quarterback, Haynes King, for the last 2 weeks. He ended up rushing for 93 yards and a touchdown in that game. And game management and Mario Cristobal, again, going to be the talking point after burning a timeout defensively when Georgia Tech needed one. They ran out of timeouts themselves on a potential game-winning drive.
Well, also, when you talk about Miami, their defense, they give up a lot of points.
Yeah.
And I knew that would bite them. You can't keep giving up a lot of points and expect your quarterback to keep scoring your offense and keep trying to score 50 every game.
Yep.
You can't do it in this
not
game.
Not sustainable.
No, not at all.
It is not sustainable. Taking a look elsewhere on the college football scoreboard, the Indiana Hoosiers, number 8 team in the country, they lead Michigan 6-3 early, but the Hoosiers are driving. They have the ball second down and goal on the Michigan 7-yard line.
They could have scored.
And they just scored. So Indiana now up 12-3 pending the extra point. Georgia 7-7. They are tied with Ole Miss. 6:53 to go in the first quarter of that one. Look, for Ole Miss, this is an eliminator game. They need this game in the biggest way possible, or they will be out of the college football playoff. In upset alert, Iowa State suffered their first loss of the season just last week. Well, they're in a 14-7 hole to Kansas with 19 seconds left in the first quarter there. The Big 12 is wide open. Have you seen this? Colorado can be in the driver's seat in the Big 12 to get in that conference championship game if they have a win this week. Right now, they are in Lubbock, where Joey McGuire is in the Red Raiders are incredibly good at home.
Yes, they are.
They're trailing 7-0. The 20th-ranked Buffaloes are to Texas Tech. But at 4-1 in conference play, if Iowa State loses another one, all of a sudden, Colorado, they can win out and go to the Big 12 championship and potentially the college football playoff.
Does he stay? Nope, he's gone.
You think he's gone?
He's gone.
You ever cross paths with Dion in your time in the NFL?
Oh, yeah, quite a bit. I'm on a highlight. That's the only highlight that I'm on.
Like in a good way or bad way?
Missed the tackle. He was a punt return for a touchdown against us with the Rams. And I came in and I came in too hot. I didn't come in under control. I didn't come to balance.
Especially against a 4-3 guy with 4-3 speed, you better be under control.
And I tried to light him up, and I missed. And then he faked out about 20 other guys,
as he
does, and took it 70.
Oh my goodness!
Against us, against the Rams. Oh yeah, but that's the only highlight I'm on.
Okay,
of all the Barry Sanders. The Emmitt Smith, everybody, all of them. He's the only one.
Is that tackling guys like that? Was it tracking fundamentals, pursuit angles, that kind of stuff? Or?
It all depends on who you're going against. So they used to say going against Barry Sanders. I know we're going off track.
No, we're
going
good.
Against Barry Sanders, our coach used to say, "Don't stop your feet to tackle him." Because you can't take off like he can. He's going to make you stop, and then you're done. You have to take a shot, and then the next guy takes a shot, and then the next guy takes a shot. So each week it changed, with Ironhead Hayward. Remember him? 6 foot, 280, running back? Okay, well, just pray when you try to go hit him, because you might not wake up.
Him and Christian Okoye, too?
Yeah, just pray, because you might not wake up. Talk about 280 at 6 feet. All I saw was a helmet and legs.
What a great meeting you're having there. You just rewind the film and be like, all right, guys. So the game plan's prayer this week. Hope you guys have been living right.
I hope you wake up. Yeah, no. So it all depends on who we're going against.
Oh, my goodness. All right, that believe it or not, that's a look at the college football scoreboard. The big highlight so far, Miami, number 4 team in the country, suffers their first loss at Georgia Tech, 28-23. The chaos could be ensuing all weekend long in the world of college football. All right, let's get back to this game. Oregon taking on the Maryland Terrapins, and we've got a little bit of history on the line today for number 20 in the backfield. This is Ducks Game Day Live on 1080 The Fan.
Bellagio's Pizza, a local favorite.
To Wilsonville, a bunch more slowing from Salem down past exit 244, and a little more as you pass by Albany. Looks pretty clear the rest of the way, but there may be a smoky south of exit 209. 53 and cloudy here in Portland, 59 partly cloudy in Eugene. Ducks Game Day forecast calls for cloudy skies with some showers moving in later this evening, a high of 58. For the 4 o'clock kick at Autzen, 57 and cloudy. Precipitation may be creeping up during the game. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's for your game day celebration in-store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com.
This is Ducks Game Day, presented by Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly.
All right, the Oregon Ducks have been rolling offensively, and the big guy who's churning that engine is Jordan James.
Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a guy at a stadium? He rides a motorcycle. It's so popular.
Yeah.
Than our guy.
Harley is parked right next to us, and you'll probably hear it revving up.
Oh, my
soon.
goodness.
He's taking pictures. There's a line of people out here for him.
Wow.
Popular guy.
That is very. He's got the helmet on so no one knows what he looks like.
Yeah. Anthony asked for a ride.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Oh, my goodness.
Man. Jordan James.
Sorry to throw you off track.
Sometimes he runs like a Harley.
Yeah.
He gets revved up and gets going. 83 yards from 1,000.
Oh, wow.
This season. Isn't that amazing? A guy with all of the talk about this offensive line at the beginning of the year, Look, a 1,000-yard rusher is not just a running back stat. That's an O-line stat, too. But Jordan James is in line to join a pretty dang good group of guys of 1,000-yard rushers at the University of Oregon. He can become the 29th time a player's rushed for 1,000 yards. 21 different guys have done that at Oregon.
Well, here's my thing. You know, when you talk about football, everybody talks about you got to be the big guy, you got to be huge, you got to be able to run fast. And Jordan James is 5'10". I mean, I maybe 5'9". Okay, yeah, he's probably about 200 pounds. But talk about a guy that's has the mental toughness. He's physical. Okay, he's fast enough. He's smart enough. And he plays the game like it's his last play every time he's playing. It's great to watch him play this game that he loves. He loves this game. He loves his teammates, and that's when you know there's a good football player there. He can do so much for this football team, not just as a running back, but as a pass blocker, as a receiver, as a leader, and those are the type of guys you want on your football team. So it's just not about the stats. It's about him as a person.
I think we've seen this running back room all grow as well. You've talked about that tight end room, but the emergence of Noah Whittington over the last handful of weeks.
Oh, yes.
I think the young guys that we have seen in spurts, too, this year have been really intriguing, whether it is DeJuan Riggs, who we saw in mop-up duty against Illinois, where he ran the ball so dang hard. And then Jay Harris. We saw Jay Harris run the ball really effectively, really tough and strong. I think this running back room, Jaden Lamar as well, who we've seen a handful of times, this running back room is in a really good spot.
Well, with guys like Jay Harris, now he's not 5'10". He's 6'2", 6'3", about 220. That's a different package.
And DeJuan Riggs is like 5'8", probably like 180
exactly
pounds.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a problem too as a defensive guy. You have different guys who their style is, and how they run is different because of their size. Jay Harris, you better bring your load. You better bring something to hit him because he's going to come run over you. You know, and everybody else, okay, you better bring your quickness, hands on. Can you touch him in a phone booth? That type of thing. But I also look at, are you doing other things to help the team win? Again, we talk about pass blocking. You know, catching the ball out of the backfield. You got to do all those things to be a great running back.
Yep, the little things go a long way in the game of football. All right, but 83 yards for Jordan James from 1,000 yards on the season, 135 yards, and there he goes.
Yeah.
Anthony's got to go catch his ride right now. 135 yards, and he's at 2,000 for his career for Jordan James. Could see a little bit of history today and join the company of LaMichael James, Royce Freeman, Ahmad Rashad, Ontario Smith, Saladin McCullough.
You go on and on and on.
Jonathan Stewart, LeGarrette Blunt, Kenyon Barner, who's going to be in the building.
Keep going.
I mean, Byron Marshall is on this list. There have been so many backs that have crossed that 1,000-yard threshold for Oregon. It's been really fun to see. And Jordan James, Bucky Irving.
Yes.
Bucky Irving just last year.
Playing well at Tampa right now.
Yeah, Jordan James could be the latest to do it. All right, let's take a look at the game to watch across the world of college football because there's no shortage of them right now. This is Ducks Game Day Live on 1080 The Fan.
This is the story of the
refreshment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly. Find out which game across the country our hosts are most interested in. Other than our game, of course.
Never a good look when your conference champion can't beat like an 8-4 team from the SEC.
This is the game to watch on your home for Ducks football. The Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
All right, games to watch around the world of football. Right now, the game I'm watching right now, I got it on my screen right now. I'm watching my Banks Braves play. My heart is broken. I can't be there. We got a playoff game that's going on right now.
Are you more hurt if your high school team wins or if the Ducks lose? When the Ducks lose on a Saturday,
yeah,
okay, and then you lose on a Friday night,
yeah.
Which one are you taking it harder? Is it
when my guys on Friday lose?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you?
Same.
You're just sad all the time.
Yeah. I just feel bad for the kids. I really do, and I want to go out there and help them so bad.
Yeah.
But I can't do that here in college because I get killed.
Mm-hmm.
So at least maybe I get on high school.
You still got a few plays in high school.
In high school, I might have a few plays.
Yeah.
In a phone booth, long as in the tight quarters.
But there's also games to watch around. Oh, by the way, Braves are up 14-0. We've got games to watch around the world of college football, and there's plenty of it. No shortage of action in consequential games in the world of college football because 16th-ranked Ole Miss, if they lose to Georgia, the number 3 team in the country, they're out of the playoff race.
Yeah.
They are up 10-0 and have the ball and are moving against the Bulldogs right now. Indiana's lead is 7-0 against Michigan. 13:35 to go in the first half. Iowa State suffered their first loss last week. They're down 21-0
wow.
to Iowa State. And then Miami already lost to Georgia Tech earlier today. I think the big game to watch, though, is it's going to be going at the same time as this Oregon-Maryland game. And it's number 11 Alabama at number 15 LSU. Ooh. That is a true eliminator game in the college football playoff because both those teams have already suffered 2 losses this season, and LSU's one of them to USC.
Who you got?
I think LSU at home.
I do too.
think at home.
I do too. I'm not impressed with Alabama right now.
No, I'm not. But you know what Kalen DeBoer always does? Big games.
True.
They play their best.
Yes.
They play their. I mean, Oregon knows that better than anybody else twice last year.
But does he have a supporting cast to help him? I think that's the problem for him.
Yeah, Ryan Grubb is offensive coordinator from a year ago. Is now the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks.
That's right. That's right.
Seems to be. He's pretty good.
Playing in Death Valley? I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
All right, those are the games to watch around college football. All right, Joey Harrington, Joey Heisman himself. I can't believe that was over 20 years ago that billboard went up in Times Square
Time flies.
in New York City. Joey Harrington caught up with Isaac and Suk this week. Hear from Joey next. This is Ducks Game Day on The Fan.
Did you know each year auto insurers
game with a Ducks legend.
That's very kind of you to say. I would call myself somebody who's been around for a long, long, long time and wants to tell some nice stories.
Here with Isaac and Souk on The Fan is Joey Harrington. Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
So how good is Oregon to you, Joey Harrington? Do you think they're the best team in college football?
Yeah. I hesitated only just because I'm trying to think of like who the other, like trying to compare them to the others. I do. I don't think they're a perfect football team, but I don't think anybody's perfect in college football right now. I think Oregon is by far the best team top to bottom. I'm trying to think. Texas looked incredible. Big win against Michigan. That doesn't look quite as big anymore. And then, once they really played somebody, that didn't go too well. Ohio State is really good.
But they're beat up on the O-line, and it hasn't looked that offense
they
has
got
not.
beat. They got beat by Oregon.
That offense has not looked the same since they lost those linemen against Oregon.
Is Oregon the best team in college football right now? Yeah. They are.
So what
they are? I think Georgia may be maybe in that conversation. I don't know what happened against Alabama, but they've sure looked pretty good since.
Yeah, they turn it over a lot. But I think they scare you the most. Just because
it's weird in that most years I feel like there's usually a team or two that you just look at that you're like, dude, no one wants anything to do with them. And I don't think that's the case this year. I don't think Georgia or Ohio State is scared of Oregon, and I also don't think Oregon's scared of Texas or anyone else. I just think there's 4 or 5 really good teams that people feel those are the upper echelon. I think Oregon is probably the most complete team of anyone there. But and that's why I'm kind of excited about this playoff. I always thought it was just, hey, the playoff, we're still going to end up with the same 2 or 3 teams. I'm not certain, man. Even a team like Boise State, let's say they get into the 12th spot there. Like Boise State can't win a national title, but what they showed me against Oregon is they sure can knock someone off if someone's sleeping on them. And so maybe we get some more excitement than we thought going into a 12-team playoff.
What worries you most about Oregon?
Yeah. Oh, I had an answer, but I can't remember what it is.
Well, I'm supposed to ask you that
Oregon?
every week. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is the worry meter question.
Well, not necessarily, because the worry meter has to do with a particular game, and I know you're not worried about Maryland. If they're the best team, but there's still some things that give you pause. What are those things about Oregon's team? Injuries, yeah. You said that last week about Jordan Birch, but he's back. But then you lost Tez and you lost.
I'm not as worried. I mean, Tez is incredible. I mean, let's start with there. But I'm not as worried about that one because they have enough firepower to make it through until he comes back. I'm worried about DeMarcus Harper.
Yeah.
I don't know what this offensive line looks like. I mean, Souk knows more than anybody. It's a rough place to play. You lose one more guy. Yeah. Are we now looking at, you just mentioned Ohio State. What happened to Ohio State's offensive line after a couple injuries? Do we now look like we did in the first 2 weeks up front? Yeah. Because I'll tell you right now, you go back to the question you just asked me, is Oregon the best team in college football? And if we have the offensive line we did the first 2 weeks, the answer is no.
All right. Talk to you next week.
That story.
Can't wait to hear that. Bye. Joey Harrington, courtesy of Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
Hey, Duck fans. Just like our team on the field at
presents The Clear Advantage. A look at the players and units that match up well for the Ducks. Pacific Office Automation has your office game plan. Visit them today for a full technology assessment at pacificoffice.com.
All right, time for The Clear Advantage. Anthony Newman, where does it lie with you?
Oh, that's easy. I say it every week. It's the quarterback. The guy that touches the ball every offensive snap, Dylan Gabriel. Yeah. He is the man. I mean, and you said it. He's a cheat code.
Mm-hmm. He is a cheat code.
He's the man. He's going to lead this football team on and off the field. He's a great young man off the field, and he's a great football player.
I think it's the trenches, both sides in this game as well. You know,
there you go.
Offensive and defensive line. They've had troubles protecting their quarterback, Billy Edwards Jr., this season, and I think it's going to be a big issue for the Maryland Terrapins this afternoon and this evening. And on the offensive side, the Ducks' offensive line has got a lot to prove with Quika Rogers inside and in the middle, but hopefully they can get it done. Next man up.
Yep.
Pacific Office Automation has your office game plan. Visit them today for a full technology assessment at pacificoffice.com. Pacific Office Automation, problem solved. Coming up next, Ask Jorgie. Mike Jorgensen, color analyst for the Oregon Ducks, joins us. This is Ducks Game Day Live. We're just... Nelly, 2.5 hours till kickoff. Let's go. Right here on the Fan between the Ducks and the Terps. Ducks Game Day Live continues after this.
Looks like we got our drive time down now, under 2 hours and 10 minutes from the city center down to Autzen Stadium, slowing from the I-205 interchange and into Wilsonville. A bunch more from Salem down past exit 244, and you get a quick break before it slows down again near exit 238. Otherwise, looking pretty clear the rest of the way. There might be a smoky, though, south of exit 209. 54 and cloudy here in Portland, 59 partly cloudy in Eugene. Ducks game day forecast calls for cloudy skies with some showers moving in later this evening, a high of 58 for the 4 o'clock kick at Autzen. 57 and cloudy. Precipitation maybe creeping up in the second half, but we all know it never rains in Autzen Stadium. I'm Jeff Russ with Ducks game day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's for your game day celebration in store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com.
Coors Light presents To Chill or Not to Chill, when your friend
Day, presented by Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly. Continues with Ask Jorgie. A preview of today's game with network color analyst and former Ducks quarterback Mike Jorgensen on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
Time to Ask Jorgie as we get ready for kickoff. Just a couple hours away from the Ducks and the Terps here, right here on the Fan. And Mike Jorgensen going to be on the call alongside Jerry Allen.
Guys, good to see you. By the way, the motorcycle police just came by.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I've noticed, Anthony noticed, that they're wearing duck helmets with the wings on them.
Yeah.
So sweet.
They got a whole fleet of them.
That's
like
sweet.
everyone.
Do they do that? Have they had that helmet on every week?
Look, all of them.
Yeah.
That's the first time I've seen that.
Yeah.
It's
Isn't
so
that pretty
cool.
cool? It looks just like the winged helmets, but they're green. That's a good look.
Yeah.
That's
I
a
agree.
really good look.
I love that.
Energy. Create your own energy type game today, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of is right now. It's a little bit dead. I mean, it's just around here, there's just not quite
the buzz.
Not quite the buzz today so far, and hopefully that buzz kind of picks up as we get a little bit closer to game time. But right now, no, not the energy that I felt for any other game. Even the Idaho game, it had more energy than this one did. And so hopefully that's not a sign of what we're going to see on the field today.
But wait,
from the crowd.
Do the players feel this energy?
No, they're not. That's what I'm hoping.
They're not around.
That's the whole point.
Hasn't that kind of been one of the biggest changes that we've seen with Dan Lanning, as opposed to maybe some of the other iterations of Oregon football? Is this team has come out continually, and it seems like they've been ready to play. After that Idaho week, even the Boise State week, they looked like they came game ready for the game, but they adjusted the offensive line, and that's when really things started clicking. But they seem prepared and create their own energy every week.
Yeah, and I don't think they get sucked into the overhype.
Yeah.
And I don't think they allow themselves to get lulled to sleep when there's not enough hype. And that goes right back to, Dan Lanning and coaching staff being prepared every week, making sure that the practices are on point, that the message is on point, whatever the message is going to be this week. Obviously, last week's was a great one. Nationally get shown. I'm trying to figure out what the thumbs down's like all game long going on down there. Why are they doing that? I wouldn't think you'd allow the guys to taunt the crowd like that. Yet it's exactly what they were doing. They weren't taunting the crowd. It just was part of the theme for the week. So, I don't think this team's going to have any problem being ready to go. They've been prepared every time. I look for them again to, if they can get a fast start like we've seen the last couple of 2 or 3 weeks, Maryland can maybe score a little bit more than we saw from Michigan or from Illinois, but at the same time, you jump them early, that can flip it real quick where you can just get after the quarterback. And I heard you guys talking about that before this segment, is get after the quarterback. You get after him, as Oregon has pretty consistently this season. Weren't able to get one sack last week, but really against a more run-oriented Michigan team. Get after the quarterback here today, who has two really good receivers that he likes to throw to. I think it changes things altogether.
Talk about Jordan James for a minute. He's 83 yards from getting 1,000 yards. Talk about him. He's a great player on the field, but I think he's a better person off the field if you get to know him. And the teammates love him to death. But on the field, as a guy who's 5'9", 5'10", undersized, but he can do it all on the field. He can block, he can catch the ball, and he can run with the football.
Think about the energy that he infuses into everybody else because of the way he plays.
Yes.
I mean, Anthony, I can go back 35 years, and the way you played on defense, to me, was a rallying cry for the rest of the defense because your hair was on fire.
Well, hold on. Was that 35 years ago?
Was that 35? 30? Maybe I'll say 30.
Okay, say
How about
30.
Did I say 35? It is 35, right?
Anthony, when was your freshman year?
Or is it actually longer than 35?
84.
That'd be 40 years ago.
Okay. All right. Anyhow. Sorry.
Okay. You threw me off.
Now 35 doesn't sound so bad when it's 40, huh?
How about 10 years ago when they were playing?
Oh, my goodness.
But,
okay, go ahead.
I can still remember it. The way that Anthony played defense infused everybody else with that toughness and the get after you type of mentality. That's exactly what Jordan James is.
Yeah.
The way that he plays, the way that he gets after people. I think obviously he's taken a step forward from the first couple of games where I think there were bigger plays to be had and he would get tripped up. Yeah. You can tell the coaches have coached that, and he's finding ways to be able to, if there's a hole there, he's through it. Now he's out the other side instead of getting tripped up. Yeah. And the thing he's doing is if guys get in his way, he's not afraid to take them on. Doesn't give up the ball, doesn't turn it over, doesn't put it on the ground. He's close to 1,000 yards, so he's doing all the right things, and he's a good receiver too.
Cornerback play has been out of this world.
Opposite side, Muhammad in particular, has picked up, hasn't it?
It really has, and they're going to need him today. As you said, Maryland's got 2 really good wide receivers. Both of them have a ton of catches and a bunch of yards. But we were talking about this earlier. We haven't seen a lot of interceptions. They bat the ball down. They're always in great position. But it's like today kind of seems like a day where if the defensive line can heat up the quarterback, opportunities could be there for this backfield.
Ball's going to be in the air a little bit more. It's not going to be a 50-50 deal. I wouldn't expect that from Maryland unless somehow, some way they have some success running the ball. But I think today you're going to have some opportunities, and you got to take advantage of it. When the ball's there, you got to take advantage of it. There's the tough interception. There's the ball that's maybe you're trying to get off of a tip drill, and then there's those where you're in great position. Got to come up with the ball, and I think turnovers today would be really nice to be able to get because Oregon hasn't had a whole lot of takeaways.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. True. Question about Maryland's offense, their passing offense. It's one of the best in the nation. But is that because they're losing and if they have to throw the football? They're not running the ball. You have to come from behind in every game that you're playing in. You got to keep up with the other team.
Yeah.
So all you're doing is throwing the football. So the stats, when you look at stats, you're way up there. So, but are you really a good passing team?
Yeah, good point. I mean, I guess I never really thought about it that way. I mean, 2 weeks ago, for the first time this season, they really got blasted. And, big lead in the game, I think it was with Minnesota.
Yes.
And Minnesota just jumped out to a huge lead at halftime, continued to pour it on. So, yeah, there's going to be some junk yardage and junk completions and junk touchdown passes in that particular time. But, it is one of those ones where it could be that way. I can't say I've gone through and watched every game that they've played. I don't think that they've played the top 3 or 4 teams consistently in the league so far, too, that would be the top defenses like they're going to face with Oregon today. So, it's going to be a little different story here, I think, at Autzen Stadium. And, I think, again, you get after the quarterback, it changes everything.
Yeah.
The 2 receivers are really good. They are. But that's where their game is. And if they can't get anything else going and there's pressure on the QB, man, it's tough to operate that pass game.
Obviously, no Tez Johnson for the foreseeable future, but who do you expect to see step up in that receiver room?
Well, I think Sadiq again because he's a tough matchup. You got Terrence Ferguson back, so when all of a sudden you get both of those guys on the field with everybody else, it just makes Sadiq that much better. And, T. Ferg's going to get what he gets. Justice Lowe, I mean, that's a guy who's benefiting from all this. And what I was so happy to see last week against Michigan was when Tez went down, other than knowing that he went down, nothing changed.
Nothing.
Man, the rhythm of the offense, the big plays that were happening, the great catches by Evan Stewart in the end zone, even though you don't get a touchdown there and you still score a touchdown anyway. The plays they were making without Tez on the field, I think, boosted the confidence of that offense. And, today now you don't have Harper, but you got Kavika Rogers.
Yeah.
So how does he operate when you've had a cohesive unit that just has gotten better and better each week? And, when Harper went down last week, Michigan took advantage of it. I'll tell you, they really took advantage of it. But for Kavika to be able to get a full week of practice in, I think is going to be really beneficial to this team as they head, to Wisconsin next week.
That's why I think that 90-yard drive at the end of the game was important, though, is because Rodgers,
he's in there.
They moved the ball 90 yards with him on the field. I think that was important to see at the end of that game.
Yeah, and I like a little bit of adversity that they faced last week, whether it's Tez getting hurt, whether it's fumbling a punt return, whether it's having to make a stop and not allow it to be a one-score game and then just bleed the clock all the way down the field. I think they really responded with some really, really important drives in that game. And those are the little confidence builders that take you on into the end of the season and beyond.
All right, Jorgie, have a great call. We'll see you in a few minutes
See
up there
upstairs,
at the booth.
man. Okay.
All right, what's at stake next on Ducks Game Day? We're getting closer and closer to kickoff. 2 hours and 10 minutes between the Ducks and the Terps right here on The Fan.
Wow, look at these Black Friday deals.
Autzen Stadium, slowing from the I-205 interchange and into Wilsonville. A bunch more slowing from Salem down past exit 244. Looks pretty clear the rest of the way, but perhaps a smoky south of exit 209. 54 cloudy here in Portland, 59 partly cloudy in Eugene. Ducks game day forecast calls for cloudy skies with some showers moving in later this evening, a high of 58 for the 4 o'clock kick at Autzen. 57 and cloudy, but perhaps some liquid sunshine showing up during the second half, but we all know it never rains in Autzen Stadium. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks game day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's for your game day celebration in-store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com.
It's time to sharpen the knives and make some picks.
How do you feel about this weekend?
Do you rent that yacht?
No, I own it.
That's how I feel about this weekend.
It's time for What's at Stake as the Ducks Game Day hosts look at the most impactful games in college football. Brought to you by Laurelhurst Market. More than just your friendly neighborhood steakhouse. Make your reservation today at laurelhurstmarket.com.
All right, what's at stake? We've talked about it a few times. Elimination games when it comes to the college football playoff. And right now, the big game of note is Ole Miss, Georgia. Ole Miss can't afford another loss if they want to keep their hopes alive for a college football playoff berth. The 16th-ranked Rebels up 13-7 over number 3 Georgia. 7:06 to go in the first half of action from Oxford, Mississippi.
And they're driving Ole Miss.
And they're driving. Try to keep
that's-
that season alive.
Wow.
Also at stake, an elimination game for the college football playoff. 6-2 Bama, 6-2 LSU. That a 4:30 kick on ABC this evening. And both those teams need a win. The loser is effectively eliminated from the college football playoff with a loss. The Pacific Office Automation post-game scoreboard show is coming up after Ducks post-game and the game wraps up. Make sure you listen to the secret score for a $100 Laurelhurst Market gift card given away in the 7 a.m. hour Monday of Dirt and Sprague. Remember, Laurelhurst Market, more than just your friendly neighborhood steakhouse. Make your reservation today at laurelhurstmarket.com. All right, the line to watch coming up next as we wrap up Ducks Game Day before we hand over to Jerry, Jorgie, Joey, and myself for Ducks pregame show next on The Fan.
Everywhere you look, things are getting
Ducks game. Don't worry, we'll check their work after the game on the post-game scoreboard show. The Line to Watch is brought to you by Multnomah County Behavioral Health Division. Don't let the game play you. For more information on problem gambling prevention and treatment resources, visit opgr.org.
All right, Anthony, line to watch for me. The quick start, jump on them early.
Yep.
I think we see something in the neighborhood of a 42-10 type game.
Yeah, I see the same. Oregon wins up front with the big boys. They win big, 52-14.
Ooh,
I'm saying big.
A 50 burger for the Oregon Ducks.
Yes.
All right, well, we'll be talking about it in the Ducks post-game scoreboard show. Coming up next, we hand it off to Jerry, Jorgie, Joey, and myself for Ducks pregame, and then a 4 o'clock kick between Oregon and the Maryland Terrapins. The Line to Watch is brought to you by Multnomah County Behavioral Health Division. Don't let the game play you. For more information on problem gambling, prevention, and treatment resources, visit opgr.org. All right, coming up next, Ducks pregame, leading you up to a 4 o'clock kick right here on The Fan. Have a good one, folks. We will see you in the postgame.
Oregon Ducks football on 1080 The Fan is brought to you